There are nearly 900 species of Pokemon out there, and while the Pokedex is full of super cute descriptions about bringing happiness and playing at the beach, there are plenty of really disturbing stories in there too. Some Pokemon are poisonous, some are aggressive, and others straight up eat each other. Ekans and Sneasel both feast on Pidgey eggs, for example. But that's just normal food chain stuff, and when compared to some of the other Pokemon out there, it's child's play. Cubone wears its own mother's skull, and according to Red version, Charizard can cause forest fires unintentionally. I'm sure Smokey the Bear appreciates that. The darker Pokemon are messed up in different ways, so let's break this down into a few categories. How about a little appetizer to ease us into the heavier stuff? The ones that are food. For years, science has wondered whether or not we can eat Pokemon and what they taste like. The good news is, we can, and according to Pokemon Diamond, Cherubi is very sweet and tasty. Sword and Shield editions Alcremie and Appleton are delicious too. They secrete sweet cream and nectar respectively, which little kids enjoy snacking on. If you're looking for a main course, Pokemon offers some fish and fowl. Barraskewda is another new Sword and Shield edition with surprisingly tasty flesh. And that's definitely the last time I want to use the word flesh to describe my food. Crabrawler's claws are prone to falling off, and Moon version tells us the meat inside them is rich and delicious. Then there's Farfetch'd. According to the anime series, it's a delicious duck, especially when cooked with a leek. Now I know what you're thinking. Doesn't Farfetch'd carry around a leek already? Yeah, it carries around its own garnish. That's like a chicken carrying around Cajun spices and buns and hanging out inside a Popeyes. At least you can wash the guilt out of your mouth with a sip of tea from Poltegeist. Because, yeah, it lets its trainer drink it sometimes. I hope you're cool with drinking a ghost. Oh, did I not mention that Poltegeist used to be a person? The ones that are people. Yeah, it's time to get dark. Poltegeist's previous form, Sinistea, was born when a lonely spirit possessed a cold leftover cup of tea. I guess ghost types do have to be the ghost of something, but it's really creepy when that something is people. Oh, and Spiritomb? It's made up of 108 different spirits. That thing you keep in your Pokeball is 108 individuals who lived full, rich lives. Now they hang out in a Pokemon PC when you don't want them in the party anymore. Meanwhile, Yamask carries a mask that used to be its face when it was human. This floating thing very explicitly used to be a person. Even worse, its evolution, Cofagrigus, swallows those who get too close and turns them into mummies. So there could easily be some sort of messed up, self-fulfilling prophecy here, where Cofagrigus keeps churning out dead bodies that become Yamasks and carry around their old human faces. That's a vicious cycle. Hopefully, at least some of these are adults who've already lived most of their lives, because in Phantump's case, Pokemon Y specifically says it's a tree stump possessed by the spirits of children who died while lost in the forest. Dead kids. And Pokemon. Very wholesome. Even Kadabra used to be a kid. Fire Red says a boy with extrasensory powers awoke in bed transformed into Kadabra. I'm not sure what's worse, waking up in some Kafkaesque body horror or just dying in the forest. Oh, by the way, Pokemon themselves die too. The ones that die. Remember that harrowing episode of Pokemon where Charmander's tail fire almost went out? Yeah, Fire Red says it dies if that happens. Another anime favorite is Jigglypuff, who of course loves to sing and put people to sleep. But according to Sapphire, it never pauses to breathe. If it is in a battle against an opponent that does not easily fall asleep, Jigglypuff cannot breathe, endangering its life. Worst karaoke guest ever. Spoink is a pretty cute Pokemon too, but apparently that little spring it bounces around on is what makes its heart beat. Omega Ruby says that yes, that means if it stops, its heart will stop. Meanwhile, Clang can't afford to mess up in battle. It's composed of 2 gears, but if the mini-gear it launches at a foe doesn't return, it will die. Try not to miss, buddy. If all this has you upset, just be glad you're not Primeape. Sun version says it has been known to become so angry that it dies as a result. So that's fun. But what about those Pokemon that want to hurt us? The ones that murder. Have you ever been stung by a jellyfish? Well, Jellicent takes things a bit further than that. Ultramoon says fishermen are afraid of it because it drags them into the sea, where a whole heap of sunken ships are sitting in its lair. I'm not sure if I'd rather drown or have my back broken, but Beware can take care of that. Let me just read what Moon version says about what is essentially just a giant teddy bear. Many trainers have left this world after their spines were squashed by its hug. Beware isn't the only accidental murderer in the Pokemon world either. Anyone who sees what's under Mimikyu's disguise dies from the sight. Also, it has a broken neck that it can't fix, so it just cries all the time. Poor thing. I have zero sympathy for Sandygast though, because it takes control of anyone who puts a hand in its mouth. Even worse, its evolution Palosand keeps the bones of all of its victims buried underneath it. The beach is supposed to be a happy place. And I can't go up to the mountains either because I don't want to run into Frostlass. That thing freezes people and turns them into decorations in its den, Ed Gein style. At that point, just take my soul too. Speaking of which, the ones that steal your soul. Yes, even in death, you're not safe from these evil Pokemon. Dusclops has a hollow body that will steal your spirit if you happen to see what's inside. Shedinja and Sableye straight up steal souls too. And you know that ghastly trio of Litwick, Lampent, and Chandelure? Well, every single one of their flames is the soul of someone who passed on. Litwick even leads people into the forests in some sort of sick team-up with Phantump. Black and White 2 say Lampent waits outside hospitals waiting for people to die. God forbid it's another kid, because Drifloon and its evolution Drifblim both carry away small children to the afterlife. If Pennywise carried around these guys instead of that red balloon, we would be so screwed. Now, you might have noticed a lot of these messed up Pokemon are ghost types, and a lot are from Gen 1. One trio of Pokemon fit both of those descriptions, and I've saved the worst for last. The unholy trinity. Ghastly, Haunter, and Gengar. Dare I say, these three are the originators of the pocket monster macabre. First, Ghastly is just a bunch of dead people. Ultra Sun says that gas emanating from a graveyard was possessed by the grievances of the deceased and thus became a Pokemon. Remember when I said Yamask and Cofagrigus have some vicious cycle of murder and returning as a ghost going on? Ghastly, Haunter, and Gengar have that in spades. Haunter's tongue will straight up steal your life away if it licks you, but at least the Pokedex warns you about not approaching it. Gengar is a different story. This purple freak actively seeks out its victims. According to Sun, should you feel yourself attacked by a sudden chill, it is evidence of an approaching Gengar. There is no escaping it. Give up. Give up. Even the Pokedex knows you're screwed if Gengar is around. Pokemon has a few murderers, but Gengar is a full-on serial killer. So enjoy Pokemon Sword and Shield, everybody. I'm sure whatever pair of games we get next will have its fair share of disturbing Pokemon too. I've been your host, Tony, and that's weird, it just got really cold in here. Anyway, I'm Tony and... No!